Sports, presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. And by Circa Sports. Circa Sports. Sports betting the way it should be. On the voice of the Cardinals, KMOX.
The pitch. A swing and a ground ball. Deep short. Tolbert has it. Throws to second, and this ball game has come to an end. Torres is out 6-4 coming down to second, and Kansas City survives a big 3-run ninth inning by the Cardinals to give the Royals a finish.
Tough one tonight for the Cardinals. They lose in Kansas City 6-5. They score 3 in the ninth to turn it into a one-run game, but they were down 6-2 before those 3 runs there. And one big inning there in the fourth inning, a 4-run fourth for Kansas City really was the difference in this game. Welcome in. This is the Circa Sports Extra Innings Show here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. As always, would love to talk with you about what went down over the last few hours. If you want to call or text, the phone number 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air, or you can leave a comment on the video stream. For those of you who are watching on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we're here for you. We can take your comments. We can talk through what went down here over the last little while. Look, this was one where one inning gotcha, and I talk about big innings a lot. I'm a big believer, and I'm not the only one who believes this. This is a widely held belief across baseball. You win games with big innings, and this game is a perfect example of it. Kansas City's big inning greater than St. Louis's big inning, right? Kansas City scores 4 in the fourth. The Cardinals get 3 across in the ninth inning. You appreciate the fact that they didn't give up. You appreciate the fact that they put that rally together, but they just were unable to do enough to tie the game and certainly find a way to take the lead in it as well. One of the frustrating parts of this game is that they did take the early lead. They had a 2-0 lead, and then things just kind of got away from Michael McGreevy there in the fourth inning. And McGreevy's been really good this year, even with the 5 runs and 8 innings and on 8 hits and 5 innings today. His ERA just goes up to 3.35, so you're still really comfortable with where that's at. He's a guy who's been giving you 6 or more often than not lately. When you look, especially in the month of June, when with what he has been able to do. By the Numbers being sponsored by Bank of Springfield, bank boldly, bank with BOS, member FDIC. This is his first start in the month of June that he has not gone 6 in his first 3 appearances this month. June 1st against Texas, June 7th against Cincinnati, and June 14th against Minnesota. He went 6 innings in each of those games and also gave up 2 runs in each of those games. So he was not quite as sharp today as you would like him to be. And the bottom line is, credit Kansas City. They put things together there in that 4-run fourth inning as they were able to do what they needed to do to take the lead and then hold on to the lead. Really, we've talked, this is not a good Kansas City lineup, and I don't say that to make it worse. I say that just to say that you would have felt like you could have some success. The one guy in that lineup, especially with Bobby Witt Jr. not available, the one guy in that lineup who does scare you a little bit is Jack Caglione, and he hits the home run today. He drives in 2. He goes 2 for 4. They didn't really have an answer for him, and when all is said and done, you end up losing the game. Again, final score is 6-5. Let's get to our cut of the game. Our cut of the game is sponsored by The Diamond Shop, thediamondshop.net. As mentioned, the Cardinals do rally there in the ninth inning as they were able to put together a number of runs. And it all happened essentially with 2 outs. They got to 2 outs pretty quickly, and then the Cardinals started stacking together hits, and also they were able to draw a walk. Nelson Velasquez had a good draw walk. Mason Wynn had doubled the score Lars Nootbaar. That accounted for the first run, and then Blaze Jordan comes up to the plate with runners on at second and third.
3-2, 2 outs, top of the ninth. The pitch on the way, a swing and a line drive right field. A long run for Rave. He can't get there. The ball hits down. 2-run score on the single by Blaze Jordan, and it's a 1-run game in the ninth inning. The Cardinals are still alive in KC.
Yep, they are still alive at that point, and you really appreciate it, as that is our cut of the game, sponsored by the Diamond Shop, thediamondshop.net. Speaking of Blaze Jordan, who's on a roll, is sponsored by Circus Sports, sports betting the way it should be. I don't think anybody really saw it coming down the way it's been for Jordan, and that's not to take a shot at him as a hitter. I think most people who knew his profile knew he's somebody who could have some success at the major league level, but you talk about success, he's having a ton of it. 8 games so far for Jordan. He's a 300 hitter, so he's hitting for average, 9 for 30. He's also hitting for power. He has 2 doubles, a triple, and a home run. So of his 9 hits, almost half of them have gone for extra base hits. That's good for an 856 OPS. He's not striking out, and that should not be a surprise, by the way, because Jordan was not striking out at AAA either. That is something that he is very good at, being able to make contact, and it's really good to be able to see him do that. So that's going to be Who's on a Roll, sponsored by Circus Sports, sports betting the way it should be. Let's grab a few of the messages that are coming in. Joseph says, Kansas City hitters have been well prepared the last 2 games. Hitters are confident. You know, watching yesterday with Matthew Liberatore, I did wonder if there was some type of tell on him just because of how hard he was being hit. And let me be clear, this is not an excuse for Liberatore yesterday. He did not pitch well. But it crossed a line to like an extreme nature because of all the exit velocity, say, that were over 100 miles per hour against him. It did go through my mind. Do they know what's coming? Is this more than just pitches that are somewhat non-competitive? I didn't feel that way today. I just felt like Kansas City put together a really solid 4th inning, and that was the kind of the extent of what they were able to do. And then Jack Caglione was able to add on a home run in the 5th inning, and he's a good hitter. Now 10 home runs on the year for Caglione. So I think I would agree with that statement more about yesterday than today. That's not me taking anything away from Kansas City. I think they had a perfectly fine offensive approach, but I didn't think it was anything really of note today. They just had an inning where a lot of things kind of went their way. Samson's in a message, says another tough loss by the Cardinals. They made another horrible team look good like they did in the Twins series. To be fair, the Minnesota Twins, they caught the Twins at the worst possible time. The Twins have now won 4 in a row, and 5 of their last 6 and 6 of their last 8. They've been playing some good baseball. Now they're losing right now in Arizona to the Diamondbacks. That's still a series, especially because of that Friday night loss that they had to the Twins. That was one that they could have swept the series, and that was a really bad bullpen weekend for the Cardinals. If the bullpen would have performed in an effective manner, they would have taken all 3 games. So I'm not, again, but they caught Minnesota at a bad time. You can argue that Minnesota's playing their best baseball of the year. This team, for whatever reason, it almost doesn't. How do I put this? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna put it this way, and this is not meant to be disrespect to who they're playing. It feels like in many ways, it doesn't actually matter who the Cardinals are playing. There's only one series this year where it really felt like they were just completely and totally outmatched. And I remember a commenter, I think it was somebody who sent in a message on the video stream the last time the Cardinals and Brewers played. Somebody made the comment that was the first time that they felt like the Cardinals were just overmatched by a team. And I agreed with that, and I've thought about that more and more since then, and I think I tend to agree with that. So Cardinals play really good teams. They beat them. Cardinals play not as good teams. They've lost to them sometimes. The fact that the margin of error is so thin for this team, I don't think it's about the Cardinals putting their best effort on the field. You know, Joseph says they're playing down to losing teams. I'll say it. I don't think it's that. I don't. And I understand why. I think, by the way, legitimate comment. Completely legitimate comment. I understand why you say that. And bluntly, I don't have a whole lot of response to it because it does kind of feel that way sometimes. So it can look that way. It can feel that way. I don't think it's that. I do think they go into these periods where maybe they lose a little bit of their edge for whatever reason. And I don't know what that reason is. And it also, we do need to remember, this is not a perfect team. This is a flawed team. It's not a perfect roster. There was a reason the expectations were as low as they were when the season got started. So if you lose a little bit of your edge, if you go through a down period, which over 162 games, every team has good periods, every team has bad periods. The good teams extend out the period of time where they're playing good baseball, and they shorten up the periods of times where they are in collective slumps. And we're going to see more of this. This is not going to be the first time this year, or the final time this year, I should say, where they play against a team that record-wise you feel like they should have success against, and they end up not having that success. Text message comes in from the 618 and says, Blaze Jordan should have been up over a month ago, and yes, you are making excuses for Liberator. No, I'm not. And if you listened to me last night on the show, and we listened on Redbird Rush Hour today, we have spoken openly about the fact that Matthew Liberator was non-competitive yesterday, and this is a slump for him that's going back a while. I even talked about today on Redbird Rush Hour because I tweeted this out. You take out April and May from last year for Libby, and he's got a 5.31 ERA since June 1st of last year. I'm not making excuses for him. And I even said today on Redbird Rush Hour that I think we're past a point with him where he's sort of on scholarship. He threw 150 innings last year. This is not his first time being an every fifth day starter. So don't put words in my mouth. I'll be honest on how I feel, and I'm not making excuses for him. Do I think he can find who he was in April and May of last year again and get back to that? I do. Do I know what needs to happen for him to get to that point? I don't. And that's hopefully the Cardinals have more of an idea than I do on that one. Text message from the 314 says, I think it's important to note that although the Royals are the worst team in their division, it's not like they're the Rockies and are a bad team. Yeah, look, there's not a lot of bad teams in baseball this year. There's not a lot of just flat-out horrendous teams in baseball. You look at the Rockies, the Angels, the Red Sox are pretty bad, Giants, Tigers. But you know what? I mean, look, I say Giants and Tigers. Kansas City essentially has the same record as those teams. Now, Kansas City has been decimated by injuries recently, but if we're going to be fair about it, Kansas City was not playing very good baseball even before they were decimated by injuries. And we talk about a team like the Mets being a terrible team. The Mets have a better record than Kansas City. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Kansas City is better than their record would indicate, but from a record standpoint, they are one of the worst teams in baseball. That's who they are. That's what their record says they are. And coming into this series, they were not playing very good baseball. They lost 2 of 3 to Washington in the series before. Before that, they lost 2 of 3 to the Astros. Before that, they lost 2 of 3 to the Rangers. The last time they won a series was against the Twins, and that was right before the Twins started playing better baseball. So I understand the text. Like I don't think the Royals are as bad of a team as their record indicates, but I also don't think they're a really good team by any stretch of the mind. Let's get to By the Numbers. It is sponsored by Bank of Springfield. Excuse me, we're going to get to our insurance run of the game. We already did By the Numbers. Insurance run of the game sponsored by O'Connor Insurance in Creve Coeur, proudly representing auto owners insurance. And this is one of those games where the insurance run really ends up paying out some dividends as the Royals were able to push across one more run in the 6th inning. George Soriano came on to pitch. He would issue a walk to Nick Lofton, and then eventually Lofton would get to third. It would bring up to the plate Tyler Tolbert, and he would come through and driving in a run.
The 2-2 pitch. It's hit in the air to center field, and that's deep enough to get a run in. Way back, and Church makes the catch in front of the wall. The runner's tag. Coming in, Nick Lofton. He has the 6th Kansas City run. Collins goes to third, 2 down.
So that is the insurance run of the game. Again, it is sponsored by O'Connor Insurance in Creve Coeur, proudly representing auto owners insurance. Question from Jeremy asking who made the error tonight. They did assess an error on Nathan Church on that throw. That's a tough error, by the way. That's a really tough error for him because that was the one that hit the mound and then bounced over towards first base. But yeah, that's who ended up making the error tonight. We just had a message up, so it says Cardinals are a good team. I think when Oliver Marmol played Whitey ball, he was winning the beginning of the Minnesota series. Marmol stopped playing Whitey ball, and he needs to go back to Whitey ball. When the Cardinals hit home runs, they win games. It's nice to push across a run here and a run there. It's good to be able to move runners over, especially when you're playing a lot of one-run games, when you've got an opportunity to take what would be a scoreless inning and turn it into a one-run inning. Tonight's a great example of that. If they would have scratched across a single more run in any of those innings, well, then it's a different game. But what really got them going was the fact that they were able to score multiple runs in the ninth. And so, no, I disagree in the sense that that is not what the Cardinals need to be doing more of. The Cardinals need to hit more home runs. The Cardinals need to slug more. The Cardinals need to put up more crooked numbers, and the Cardinals also need to pitch well. Michael McGreevy, I don't think Michael McGreevy was bad tonight, but he gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. That's not good. You do that every time, you got an ERA of 9, and that's obviously bad. I would say McGreevy was a little bit better than the line would indicate today. Still has a 3.35 ERA. I'm not going to. If this is McGreevy's worst, and he doesn't do this very often, you're not going to hear me yell about it for sure. But look, when the Cardinals got 2 back-to-back fantastic starts there earlier in the week with that really special game for Dustin May, and then what Andre Palante was able to do, they won. So go score a bunch of runs, limit runs, you win games. And no, a follow-up from the person who sent in that message asking me you don't like Whitey ball. No, it's a very entertaining brand of baseball. Very entertaining brand of baseball. It is the most entertaining brand of baseball in many ways. It is very, very exciting to watch that, but that is not how you win games. It is a proven fact, and this is not the night to talk about that. I mean, we're not going to argue, bunts and things like that, but it is mathematically proven that the way that you win games is by not giving away outs, and you score multiple runs in the inning. And he says it's successful. It was successful earlier. We're in a different age of baseball. We just are. And look, I get into these arguments with people, and they don't want to hear what I'm saying, and that's fine. And I feel like there's nothing I can say to change your opinion on it. But we know what wins baseball games. We know the way the game should be played. Are there exceptions to that rule sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. The Milwaukee Brewers are a great example. They have a team that's built very, very differently. They don't hit a lot of home runs. They do things differently, but they are very much the exception to the rule. If you can put a team together like that, you can do some things differently, but generally speaking, that is not the way that you are successful in 2026 in Major League Baseball. And if a gaggle of other teams tried to do what the Milwaukee Brewers did, they would be bad teams. They'd be bad teams. The Brewers do something special. Text message coming in from Joseph says, should the lineup change now that Newt is back, move Herrera behind Walker and bat Newt second? I don't think so. I don't. I like Herrera in the 2 spot. Generally speaking, you put your most dangerous hitter in the 2 spot, and even if his numbers don't say he's the most dangerous hitter, because you can look at what Jordan Walker and what Alec Burleson have been able to do this year, and their numbers across the board are better than Ivan Herrera's numbers. I still really trust Herrera. So, and plus, the other thing I would say is, why mess with good? So far this year, the Cardinals have gotten a ton of production out of those top 4 spots. Why mess with anything else? And today the Cardinals scored 5 runs on 8 hits. Yesterday they scored 6 runs on 13 hits. And I know yesterday they're up by a ton, so the way Kansas City used their pitching probably wouldn't have been used the same way had Kansas City not been up big. And today you had 2 runs through 8 innings before you tacked on 3 in the 9th. So it feels a little bit different. Like yesterday's 6 runs, not a conventional 6 runs. Today's 5 runs, not a conventional 5 runs. I get all of that. But really, since Lars Nootbaar's been back, since Nathan Church has returned from the injured list, since Blaze Jordan has been inserted into the lineup, since Jimmy Crooks has arrived, that bottom of the order is starting to be more successful, and overall the team is scoring more runs because of it. So I understand the question. I do. No, I would not make changes. I would not touch the top 4 in the order at this point in time. Cardinals lose again tomorrow. They are going to enjoy an off day in Kansas City. I believe some of the members of the traveling party, players, staff, and the like, were able to obtain some tickets for the World Cup game that will be going on. But nonetheless, everybody out there will be able to enjoy a mid-series day off in Kansas City, and then they're going to be back at it coming up on Sunday afternoon to wrap up the series with Dustin May on the mound. We'll see what May is able to do following up his last start, which was really, really good. Appreciate everybody being with us for the evening. Cardinals, they do end up losing today. They fall to Kansas City 6-5. They lost the first 2 games of this series. And we'll talk to you again real soon right here on the home of the Cardinals, KMOX.